filming at a new angle. Let's see if it works out. Trying to change up my background, and yes, I know that's falling. I need to fix that. But anyways, let's talk about Return of the Jedi. Man, I kind of hinted at this review when I talked about Empire and how I'm not that big of a fan of this movie, and I'm really not. It's not a bad movie. Like it's a good. Like this is the movie that I feel like when I watch the Pirates movies where it's not exactly one to one because with the original trilogy, Empire's the best. A New Hope is second best, and then I'm not a big fan of Return of the Jedi. But when I watch the Pirates trilogy, the first two are really good, and then you get to that last one, and that's where the quality starts to dip a little bit. But I also just don't mind it too much because it's a conclusion to the trilogy in a way that felt satisfying enough. Kind of feel the same way about the Stranger Things finale. So it's kind of it's that's what basically where I think this movie works for me is the finality of things. When you see all the characters at the end of the movie celebrating the Empire being gone and defeated, you're like, okay, I'm with it. Things like that. That's where I get into this movie, right? Where I struggle with this movie it's just really mostly that first act, and certain characters feel like they just have nothing to do. Han Solo, it's like because he was frozen in carbonite, which if you don't know, the reason that he was frozen in carbonite was because when Han died, or not died, when Harrison Ford wanted Han to die, he he didn't sign on for a third movie like everybody else, and so they just were like, all right, we'll freeze you in carbonite, and that way he's out of the movie. We could say he died off screen, or they could unfreeze him and get him back in the movie. Of course, they went and got him back in the movie, which overall I think is the right call, right? Because he has a great role in Force Awakens and some other things. But just in this movie, I mean, I actually could have done without his role in Force Awakens, but I digress. He just is like, oh, he's here in this movie, and he doesn't really do anything. In fact, Lando does all the stuff that you would think Han would do, and that's just kind of not great. I don't really like the whole first act with the Jabba stuff because it's all just fucking worthless. Like I got that the goal is to get Han back, but the steps that Luke takes and the plan that he takes. First of all, like why did you not tell C-3PO and R2-D2 what the plan was? Didn't make any fucking sense. And just all these like different layers he took to things. It's like, okay, motherfucker. I'm like, all right. And then it's like, wait, you somehow knew that R2-D2 was gonna like shoot that lightsaber in the air. You're gonna catch it. I mean, it's a cool like, oh, Luke's fucking back kind of vibe to things, but in terms of like, just plot wise and it making sense, the Jabba stuff actually isn't that entertaining, like at all. I actually think overall, as much as the huts are cool designs, and they're a fun idea of like big slug lord gangsters, like literal slugs. It's kind of fun and goofy and uniquely Star Wars. There's also a part of it that's like, have the huts ever really been entertaining or that interesting? Not really, but it's an iconic piece of the saga. I like Jabba, but I just think like a lot of the stuff is like okay, and then you get like a lot of that, and then you get the Ewok part of things, which is just like clearly George Lucas was in his mindset of like, well, I'm having, I like, making stuff for kids. He did more of that in the prequels, and that's where it really got hurt. But you feel that in this movie, and it just is not great. So I don't know. I just am not a big fan of a lot of that overall in this movie. I think it's kind of just it brings the movie down. But in terms of but what I really love about this movie is that Mark Hamill's performance. You could tell that he's an older, wiser man who's gone through things and trained better. His determination to believe in his father and the way that culminates in the end of the story is beautiful. Like all that stuff really works for me. Some of the space battle battles, of course, are fantastic. Even though, yes, it's goofy that we have another Death Star. It's goofy when they do it in Force Awakens too. But it is what it is. If you really love Star Wars, this is one of the great fun ones to watch. It's the weakest of the original trilogy, but that doesn't make it a bad movie. It's just I like this is a 6 out of 10. Actually, I'll give it a 7 out of 10 movie. Because there's just the visual effects and the things that they do with this movie are unlike any movies at the time, and the score is great, and all that stuff, and it's just iconic. I can't really rate it lower than a 7, but or higher than a 7 either. So because of the messy plot of it all, but I love this movie uh, for so many things. But I'm also just confused and perplexed and not really enjoying so many other parts of this movie. And that's just the mess of kind of Return of the Jedi.